jQuery is a library written in JavaScript that makes writing JavaScript programs easier. The first step in using jQuery is to choose how to include it in an HTML page. Going to the jQuery.com website, click on the Download jQuery button. jQuery can be downloaded in two different versions. The compressed production version, which results in a smaller file to download, and a uncompressed development version that is more human readable. Typically, the production version is used as jQuery has been tested by many people and the code is considered to be fairly stable, and there's no need for developers to look at the actual code within the library. To show you the difference, here is the compressed version, very difficult to read by a human. Computers have no problem reading this code. And here is the uncompressed version, which is much easier to read. We will download the compressed production version in our examples. Right click on the link and save it. Create a folder named JS inside of the folder where HTML pages will be created and save the jQuery file. Now that the jQuery file has been saved, we can reference it as an external JavaScript file. To make a call to the jQuery library, two ways of doing this. The first is to use the jQuery method, and the jQuery method takes a parameter of what DOM object to work on. We can specify the document object, and the first method from the jQuery library that is commonly used is the ready method. The ready method will execute when the page has completed loading. The ready method can take a number of statements. Typically, an anonymous function is created to execute code when the ready method of the jQuery library is executed. With the jQuery library, a CSS selector is commonly used to determine what elements in the DOM jQuery code that follows or is tied to the jQuery library is executed. In this case, we're saying the selector identified by strong, which is the strong tag. We're going to use the CSS method within the jQuery library, and that takes two parameters. The first is the property and the second is the value. In this example, what we're telling jQuery to do is to change the color to orange on any selector that is identified by strong. Let's see that in action. Here is the page before we made a change. When I refresh, the letters CSS are displayed in a different color, orange to be exact. Another way to call the jQuery library is to use the $sign and in parenthesis the DOM object, usually a CSS selector to execute the function on. And in this case, we're going to say any span tag that is a descendant of the paragraph tag, we're going to use the CSS function to change the color to red. Refreshing the page, we have that being red. jQuery also allows for binding a event handler to an event. Again, firstly specify what the jQuery library should perform its action on. Again, a CSS selector, this time the ID main head, and the on function within the jQuery library ties an event to an event handler. The on function is typically called with two parameters. The first is what event, and the second is what is to be executed when the event is triggered. Often an anonymous function will be specified to indicate what statements to run. In this case, we're going to say this, meaning what was previously selected, calling the function add class and a class set selector. Thus, main head is going to have the class set selector added to it when it is clicked on. And main head is the h3 tag with the content jQuery. So if we look at our page, here we have jQuery heading 3. If I click on it, nothing happens. But if I refresh the page, and now when I click on it, the CSS class set selector added to it. jQuery also supports some animation. For example, what we can do with the section tag containing the paragraph of text, it can be hidden using the hide function in the jQuery library. And then immediately following that, we can use the fade in function from the jQuery library to fade that in, and the fade in function takes as a parameter the number of milliseconds that the fade in should be done over. Here we have our page. If we refresh it, the first thing that's going to happen is that our paragraph is going to be hidden by the hide function, and then it's going to fade in over a 3000 millisecond, which is 3-second time period. Clicking refresh, can be seen there the paragraph has faded in.